For 100 years, medicine was a search. We didn't design our drugs, we found them. We screened thousands of molecules and hoped one of them happened to fit. It was slow. It was brutally expensive. And most of the time, it failed. But in the last 2 years, something flipped. Artificial intelligence stopped just reading biology and started to write it. This is the story of how incurable became an engineering problem. And the part nobody puts on the thumbnail. Who ends up owning the cure? Start with a number. For decades, around 85% of the proteins in the human body were considered undruggable. Not obscure molecules, these are the proteins behind Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, the most aggressive cancers. And the problem was physical. A normal drug works by slotting into a pocket on a protein surface, a key into a lock. But most disease proteins are smooth, or they shapeshift. No pocket, no keyhole. The pill has nothing to hold on to. So, for a generation, we didn't treat them, we worked around them. Undruggable was just a politer word for incurable. That word is what AI is now coming for. Quick thing before we go further. If you want to understand this story, stay to the end, because the most important part isn't the science. It's the money sitting underneath it. So tap subscribe and hit the bell, and keep one sentence in the back of your mind while we walk through the breakthroughs. Whoever pays to design a cure owns it. There's a door there I'm not opening yet. We'll come back to it. Part 1. First, the machines learned to read life. Then, they learned to write it. The first leap was just seeing. A protein's job is decided by how its chain of amino acids folds into a 3D shape, and predicting that shape from the sequence was a 50-year-old grand challenge. Then DeepMind's AlphaFold cracked it. AlphaFold 2 predicted the structures of over 200 million proteins, very nearly the entire known protein universe, and gave them away to the world. In 2024, AlphaFold 3 went further, not just single proteins, but how they snap together with DNA, RNA, and the small molecules we build drugs from. For the first time, you could watch a drug dock to its target on a screen before anyone made it in a lab. But reading isn't writing. Predicting a shape that already exists is one thing. Inventing one that never has, that's the line where this story actually turns. This is generative AI, the same idea as an image model, pointed at the language of life. Generate. Biomedicines built a model called Chroma that designs proteins which have never existed in nature, atom by atom. It works well enough that Novartis signed on, in a deal worth up to $1 billion. At the University of Washington, the Nobel-winning Baker Lab designs brand new proteins from scratch, built to lock onto cancer cells and viruses like custom-made keys. And at Duke, generative AI designs short peptides that wrap around the disordered proteins, the smooth, pocketless ones, from the start of this video, and bind the things we called undruggable. One caveat the headlines skip. This is research stage. These are designed molecules, proven in the lab, not yet medicines in people. Hold that thought. It matters later. Part 2. A perfect drug is useless if it can't reach the place that's sick. Here's the unglamorous truth of medicine. You can design the perfect molecule and still fail, because getting it to the right organ in one piece is its own brutal problem. Inject most therapies, and the body filters them straight out. Only a tiny fraction ever reaches the tissue you're aiming at. For gene and RNA medicines especially, the package almost always ends up in the liver, whether you want it there or not. The cure exists. It just can't find the door. So AI is being turned on the vehicle as well as the drug. Lipid nanoparticles, the tiny fat bubbles that carried the COVID vaccines, can be tuned by AI to steer towards specific organs, the lungs, the spleen, even past the blood-brain barrier. Today, 3 destinations are reliably proven: liver, lung, and spleen, with the brain, bone marrow, and muscle now in early reach, not yet routine. In 2026, A team at the Chinese Academy of Sciences used an AI model to sharply improve delivery efficiency and hit the spleen with real precision. Steadily, the package is learning to find the door. And it's not just biology. The same kind of AI search is mapping matter itself. DeepMind's GNOME predicted 380,000 stable new materials that had never been cataloged at around 80% accuracy. Most of that is aimed at batteries and electronics. But it's the same engine, an AI exploring a space too vast for humans and handing back the handful of things that might actually work, the kind of search that could one day reach medicine, too. Part 3. What happens to an industry when the slowest step suddenly gets fast? The old way of making a drug is the stuff of legend, and not the good kind. Roughly 10 to 15 years. Somewhere between $1 and $2.5 billion, depending on who's counting, and even that figure is hotly disputed. And about 90% of the drugs that make it into human trials still fail. AI is genuinely collapsing part of that. The discovery and design phase, the front half, can drop from years to months. But here's the honest version, the one you rarely hear. AI does not shrink the trials. Testing a drug in real human beings and getting it past regulators takes exactly as long as it always did. The front half got fast. The part that protects you didn't. And that gap is where the hype lives. Part 4. Remember that door? Here's what's behind it. Follow the money, and the story changes shape. Isomorphic Labs, the drug design company, spun out of DeepMind, raised $600 million in early 2025. About a year later, it raised $2.1 billion more. Look at who wrote those checks. Alphabet, Google's parent, and a row of sovereign wealth funds. Abu Dhabi's MGX, Singapore's Temasek, a UK sovereign AI fund. The capacity to design cures for the diseases that have defined human mortality is concentrating inside a handful of extremely well-funded labs backed by tech giants and by states. Big Pharma isn't fighting this. AstraZeneca has run a multi-year AI partnership with Benevolent AI that's already put AI-found targets into its pipeline. This is the door from the start of the video. Whoever pays to design the cure is positioned to own it. That's not a conspiracy, it's just where the money points. Which brings us to the question the breathless headlines won't ask cleanly. Walk back through everything we just saw: the designed proteins, the homing peptides, the AlphaFold guided drugs. How many of them are inside a human being right now? 0. Not one of these de-novo AI-designed drugs has entered a human trial yet. Isomorphic says its first are expected to begin by the end of 2026, and that date has already slipped once from 2025. Now, you'll hear that AI drugs are in trials, and that's true, but of a different kind. AI-discovered small molecules, found or optimized with AI, and then built the ordinary way. Over 200 of those are in trials. The fully AI-designed proteins this video is about are not there yet. So the honest status board for June 2026 reads like this. Many diseases still out of reach, a lot of them with AI programs underway, and the first human trials expected, not begun. The revolution is real. It just hasn't been tested on you yet. So here's the cast. DeepMind and its spin-off isomorphic turning protein structure into a design tool, Generate, biomedicines, and the Baker Lab inventing proteins that never existed. And standing behind all of them, Big Pharma, tech giants, and sovereign wealth, deciding which of these cures gets funded and on whose terms. Biology is being rewritten from the atom up by a very small number of very powerful hands. For 100 years, we treated biology as a mystery to be studied. We're starting to treat it as a system to be engineered, written in the language of amino acids and DNA, the way we write software in code. If that holds, the diseases that have defined human mortality could, one day, become things we simply fix. but solved is doing a lot of work in that sentence. The science is real, and it's astonishing. The trials haven't happened yet, and the cure is being designed inside a system that decides in advance who it's for. So, did AI solve biology? Not yet. It learned to write it. The harder question, who gets to read what it writes, that one's still open. And that's the one worth watching. If this film earned your attention, support the channel. Like the video, share it with someone who still believes the headline, and subscribe for the next investigation. The data is free. The reach is up to you.